If there's one topic that we love more than anything, it's looking at those cuisines that sit at that liminal space between cultures. I mean, our love for Hong Kong cha chan tang, Canto Western fusion, is pretty well documented by this point. But Guizhou food, another passion, is also a cuisine that was born out of a mix. Han Chinese from the valleys, Miao Dong Buyi from the surrounding mountains. Further, we're also super into Macanese food, a cuisine that's getting borderline historical by this point, but this really cool mix of not only Portuguese and Cantonese, but like the entire Lusophone world. For us at least, it's fascinating stuff. So, almost exactly 1 year ago, when we packed our bags in a hurry from our home in Shunda to move down to Bangkok, we had this vague idea that while we'd leave Thai cooking to the experts, the subject of Thai Chinese food might be an interesting topic to explore. I mean, Thai Chinese are the biggest minority group in Thailand, and Bangkok's famously got this massive Chinatown. And with Steph's Chinese language researching prowess, we thought we might be in a decent position to try to explore some of those pathways. So then, 1 year later, let's give it a try. Wander around Yaowarat Road, the heart of Bangkok's Chinatown, duck into a restaurant, and open a menu. What's there? And do any of these happen to have any mainland Chinese equivalents? Well, a must-order for me at least is something called Hangun Tot, which is meat wrapped with tofu skin and deep fried. The Mandarin name for the thing is guo rou, and originally it comes from the Chaozhou Shantou area at the estuary of the Hanjiang River, and it seems to have made it to Bangkok more or less intact. Then, turning the page, you can also find stuff like braised goose or duck. No, this is a dish that you can find pretty much throughout South China, but this specific heavily spiced version is basically the variant that you can find in Chaozhou. And then there's also juigui. In Mandarin, they're called shuiguo, and what they are is a base of rice batter and loaded up with this awesome sweet savory topping made from dried radish. It's a street food classic that you can find in the back alleys of Chaozhou. And all of that, of course, washed down with nothing other than kadom gui, a thin, plain rice porridge that's a bit of an acquired taste, and one of the primary staples in Chaozhou. Again and again, kahan oppami ejangmian, pokima fancha yuto, guichai tot, jiucai guo. While there's an alteration here or there, for the most part, these are dead ringers, frozen in time, preserved in lacquer, but at its core, Chaozhou food through and through, and for a pretty good reason. You see, like a lot of the world, the Chinese diaspora in Bangkok originally came from spots in the coastal southeast of the country. The usual suspects of Fujianese, Chaozhounese, Hakka, Cantonese, and Hainanese. But sort of unique is that here, a real tangible majority came specifically from that Chaozhou area. Now, the Hanjiang estuary isn't the most productive place agriculturally, so historically, the Chaozhou people there turned instead to the ocean. And like many maritime peoples, what might have began with fish ended up over time morphing to shipping and eventually international trade. So much so that they're sometimes referred to in this neck of the world as the Jews of Asia. Kinda problematic, but that's the predominant stereotype in China and elsewhere. So the Chaozhou people, or in Thai, Liaojiu, first hit the scene in Thailand as merchants during the fall of the Ming Dynasty, and over the years they became increasingly intertwined with Thai society. The very founder of the Kingdom of Siam, Taksin the Great, was a Liaojiu. There's even a cenotaph of him in Chaozhou, and both him and the Jakra dynasty that succeeded him found Chinese laborers to be quite useful and encouraged their immigration. Because they were exempt from Siam's system of seasonal corvée labor, basically a tax denominated in months of sweat, they were actually able to work as traders, and over the years began to form the backbone of the country's urban class and petite bourgeoisie. By the early 20th century, Bangkok itself was over 50% Chinese, and Liaojius dominated industry from sugarcane to shipping to restaurants. This was all well and good to the powers that be, until, that is, the twilight of the Qing dynasty. You see, in their fight against the empire, revolutionaries like Sun Yat-sen leveraged Chinese diaspora communities as a power base that the Qing couldn't control, while also contentiously cultivating a sort of pan-Chinese nationalism. In Thailand, things came to a head in 1910. In protest of a tax increase, the Chinese community in Bangkok organized the Chinese strike, which practically brought the whole city to an absolute standstill. In the years that followed, the Thai state embarked on a policy of forced assimilation, now referred to as Thaiification. And like all forced assimilations throughout history, the world over, this was an ugly, ugly process, particularly during the rule of the outwardly fascist dictator Pibun during the 30s and 40s. But by the 1950s, in the wake of Pibun's ashes, that Thaiification process was basically complete. The Chinese of Bangkok had become Thai. In the words of the poet Bút Batamassanin in his travelogue Parting from Chinatown, in Sampang, an alley teems with Chinese and Thai. Their paths cross and diverge, jumble together, mix beyond recognition. Chinese and Thai. Who is who? You can't help but wonder. It's a shame how modern times can jumble up and wreck a place. The Chinese cut off their cues and quietly become Thai. How strange it is, how surprising to see, people turning from one ethnicity to another. So then, now let's keep that history of assimilation in mind and swing over instead to a more run-of-the-mill Bangkok-style restaurant. Here, they serve up that classic fare that I think a lot of travelers and Thai food lovers the world over might immediately recognize. Today we ordered pad see ew, tom yum goong, minced pork omelet with a side of sriracha dip, cashew chicken, and mikrab for dessert. But all of these, while it's hidden a bit under the surface, they're actually all sort of in that cross-cultural space. Like, the story of mikrab was that it originally came from a restaurant called Dekhang that was owned by a Daeju family. And while there's no clear Chinese antecedent, there's definitely some Chinese techniques employed. Pad see ew, meanwhile, is thought to have descended from Chao, maybe via Singapore, but definitely localized. Cashew chicken, I don't think anyone actually knows. I've seen some people claim it to be gongbao in origin, but our guess might be more Cantonese yao guo ji ding. Pork omelet, and I know that this one might be contentious, really does feel like the style of omelet that they fry up in Chaozhou. And sriracha seems to have been derived from either Cantonese chili garlic sauce or Chaozhou Liaojiu shui, but some back propagation also possible. Tom yum, meanwhile, the modern milk and chili jam based sort, is apocryphally thought to come from a Chinese restaurant in Samyan. Probably one of those mythical origin stories, but that chili jam, definitely Thai Chinese. And that's not even to mention that this menu also contains some of that Chaozhou fare from before. And there's also some porridge right there as an option right next to the rice. So my question to you then, and there's definitely no definitive answer, is which style of food feels more Thai Chinese to you? Is it the Chaozhou stuff in Chinatown preserved in lacquer? Or is it what's basically just become the local post-Thaiified Bangkok cuisine? Trying to figure out this line between what's Chaozhou food, what's Thai Chinese food, and what's just Bangkok food feels a bit like trying to define what's Southern Italian food versus Italian American food versus like American food in general. We don't have any answers, but it's become one of our favorite areas of Thai cuisine to explore nonetheless. So, in this video, what we'll try to do is poke around that first line. That is, how have Chaozhou dishes adapted, if at all, from China to Bangkok? The second line we'll explore in a later video, but for this one we figured we'd look at an absolutely classic Daeju dish, Wulan Chaorousui or Namliap Musap. So first I'll hand it off to Steph, who will teach you the Chinese version. Then I'll swing back in a bit to try to cover what you could find here.
So, Daeju cuisine has a very strong rice porridge eating culture, and to go with that, there's a whole system of usually preserved savory food and snacks. And this little black fruit and its green cousin are two very common ingredients in that preserved food system. So what I'll be using today is the black one, Wulan, aka Chinese black olive. It's one of the most characteristic ingredients in that preserved food world and highly valued in Daeju cooking. So Wulan usually comes as brined or dry. The brine one is usually eaten straight with the rice porridge itself, and then the dry one here, it's the more common choice when it comes to making a dish, such as the one that we're making here today, stir-frying it with minced pork. And let's show you how it's made. So here we have 300 grams of Boston butt. Just first cut it into strips, then a 1 centimeter-ish dice, then give it a rough chop for only about a minute. Then put that in a bowl and add in 1 teaspoon soy sauce, 1 teaspoon Liaojiu aka Shaoxing wine, and 1 teaspoon cornstarch. Mix well, set aside to marinate. Next, let's prep the black olive. So this kind of Chinese black olive actually belongs to a completely different family than the olive in Mediterranean cooking. However, during testing, we used the Kalimantan olive for both the Daiju and Thai Chinese version, albeit different. They both work. So if you can't find this ones, you can also try to sub it with the Kalimantan olives. Alright, so now just take 35 grams of the dry olive, soak it with hot water for 10 minutes to soften, and after that, drain the water, cut it in half centimeter pieces, then set aside. Next up, let's prep some aromatics and herbs. So for the aromatics, we'll have 5 grams ginger, sliced and minced. Together with 25 grams red chili, you can use any red chili here, but it's usually fried with the non-spicy meaty type. So just cut off the top, half it, get rid of the ribs and seeds, then slice and dice into half centimeter pieces. And for our herb, we'll be using Chinese celery, or you can use the tender stalk inside a Western celery. Dice the stalk into half centimeter pieces first and roughly mince the leaf. And now the prep work's turn, and let's fry it. So first, long yao. Get your wok piping hot, shut off the heat and add in the oil. Here's 3 tablespoons. Give it a swirl to get a nice non-stick surface. Heat on high now. Add in the ginger and chili. Give it a quick fry till it's fragrant. Then add in the pork. Quickly break it up and fry it till it changes color, about 2 minutes. Then add in the black olives and give it a quick fry. Next, add in the seasoning mixture, which is listed on top of the screen. Give it a good mix till the water is absorbed. Then add in the celery, mix it out. And now, the Daiju version of Wulan Chaorousui, it's done.
Okay, now my task here is to cover the Thailand version. And because I'm admittedly new to the sport, what I'll do is toss a list of references in the description, and really, any Thais out there, definitely let us know in the comments if there's anything I could have done better. Now, just like in Chaozhou, in Bangkok, this dish is also a classic to go along with that plain rice porridge, or caodom. But here, caodom can also refer to what's basically a category of restaurants. In these restaurants, you can find all sorts of dishes that span that whole Thai-Chinese spectrum. Really, anything that'll go along well with the stuff. And just like how you can find a great Neapolitan in New York, there's also some caodom joints that serve up a Namliap Musap that'd be pretty close to what you could find in Chaozhou. So there is a spectrum here. That said, I do think that on average there tends to be 3 core differences. The first one is those olives themselves. Almost to a T, the Bangkok versions use the softer, saltier canned olives and not the dried ones. These canned Chinese olives are a Chaozhou classic too, but I think usually you'll find people eating them straight alongside their porridge and not really incorporating them into this specific dish. Second difference, the final pork texture. While in Chaozhou, this dish is pretty much a stir-fry like any other, many Bangkok versions tend to go longer and really brown the meat. In the words of one Thai YouTuber, you gotta be cool-headed to cook this. If you aren't, the pork won't be dry, and if it's not dry, it won't be delicious. Another pan-tip user, meanwhile, instructed that their family would literally let this pork go for like over a half an hour. Third difference, the Bangkok versions seem to go quite aggressive with garlic. Usually, it forms the primary aromatic of the dish, and reasonably often, you can even find restaurants topping it with even more deep-fried garlic. And further, when it comes to toppings, sometimes it doesn't even stop there. While it really depends on the restaurant, at times this is also served alongside some of those classic Central Thai accompaniments: chilies, cashews, even a bit of lime. Fair warning that I went a little all out on that front. It's not super standard or anything, but I personally do like the additions. So then, let's get started with our pork. Now, this is a sap or mince dish and not a ground one, so we'll be doing this ourselves. Instead of the ham cut that we often use for meat fillings, today what we'll be opting for is the shoulder, aka Boston butt. This was the cut that our butcher at the market recommended, and it does make good sense. For whatever reason, Thai pork seems to be a lot softer than what's in China, and can sometimes struggle to make for a good springy hand mince. And depending on where you are, this cut might be a nice option for you too. So then, we'll just open up our can of olives, use about half or 16 of them, and give them a brief rinse. Then just pit, smush, and chop them up, mixing them in with the minced pork. Give that all a good chop together for about 3 minutes or so, or until it's reached this sort of texture, and set it aside. Next, let's prepare some of those accompaniments, again, totally optional. This was some Thai bird's eye, stem removed, a bit of shallot cut into slices, 1 lime cut into thirds, then diced, a bit of Chinese celery, chopped, and 50 grams of cashew. To prep the cashew, we'll just first slowly fry them in a solid glug of oil over a medium-low flame for 6 or 7 minutes, or until they're golden, and then give them a super rough chop. Then, for that garlic, today we are going to be opting for Thai garlic. It's pretty similar, all things considered, but they've got these tiny little bulbs, and they're fantastically aromatic. I'm not sure how easy it is to find outside of Thailand, though, so really just use what you have. Either way, we'll just smash and chop up 100 grams worth. 50 grams we'll set aside as the aromatic, and the other half we'll fry as the topping. To do so, first just add the garlic to that same oil that we used for the cashews, and fry over a medium flame for about 5 minutes, or until they're just barely starting to get golden. Once they're at that point, heat off, continue to stir fry for 1 more minute, then strain and set aside. Lastly, also for aromatic purposes, we'll also slice up and pound down the roots of 6 cilantros. Optional as well, but I think it's a nice addition if you can swing it. So then, in a wok over a medium-low flame, first swirl in about 3 tablespoons of that same oil from before. Then add in that 50 grams of reserved garlic and fry. Once it's just starting to change color, after about 2 minutes, this is where I totally should have added that cilantro root from before, but forgot because I am stupid and forgetful. But after that would have been fragrant, add in the olive pork mixture and up the flame to medium-high. Now again, depending on the recipe, this mince will be cooked anywhere between until done to over half an hour. The former will give you a lighter, more burger-like end result, the latter something deeper and crispier as the fat renders out. We're going to be aiming closer to the latter, but something I think helps getting you there is to sort of spread the mince out to let it brown a touch, then mix, then repeat that process. After about 10 minutes, the pork should have rendered out a touch of its fat. So then we'll season that with a tablespoon of black Thai soy sauce, sub on the top of the screen, 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce, and the rest of the seasoning, which I'll just list on the screen. Then, after a good mix, up your flame to high, let your wok get as hot as reasonably possible, and swirl in a tablespoon of Liaojiu, aka Shaoxing wine. Quick mix, and serve. Toss on a big plate, nestle in all of your fixings, top with fried garlic, and devour with rice or congee just like you were in Chaozhou or Bangkok.
So we talk a lot about this rice porridge in the video, which is called moi in Liaojiu language. If you are curious and want to make it, it's actually super easy. What they usually do is use the shorter grain of rice and just boil that with enough water on high heat for only about half an hour until the rice is ever so slightly start to break, and then this kind of moi, it's ready. So right, as always, recipe in description box, and a big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon to expand our horizon on more cuisines, and also, of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.